The summer I turned 22, I came back home to Maplewood, Vermont. I had just finished my second year of college at the University of Massachusetts, and I was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind of tired that lives deep inside your chest, the kind that follows you into your dreams and waits for you when you wake up. I had been studying graphic design and I loved it most of the time, but that year had been hard. I had gone through a breakup with a guy named Daniel who was kind and funny and everything that looked right on paper, but something was always off, something I could not name yet, something I kept pushing down and ignoring because it was easier that way. So I came home. Our house on Birchwood Lane was exactly the same as I had left it. The white porch with the peeling paint, the big oak tree in the front yard, the wind chimes my mother had hung by the door 20 years ago, still singing softly every time the breeze came through. My older sister, Meg, was already there. Meg was 25. She had finished college 2 years before me and had come back to Maplewood to work at the local library while she figured out her next move. She had always been the steady one in our family. Calm, thoughtful, the kind of person who made you feel like everything was going to be okay just by being in the same room with her. And Meg had a best friend. Her name was Sophia Lane. I had known Sophia my whole life the way you know someone when they are always just there. She had been coming to our house since she and Meg became friends in 6th grade. She was always at our kitchen table, always laughing too loud at Meg's terrible jokes, always stealing food from our refrigerator like she lived there. But I had never really seen her, not the way I saw her that summer. Sophia had grown up while I was away. She was 24 now, tall with long dark hair that she usually wore in a messy bun on top of her head. She had these dark brown eyes that were so deep and warm that looking into them felt like standing in front of a fireplace. She laughed with her whole body. When something was funny to her, she would throw her head back and grab whoever was standing next to her like she needed to hold on to something because the joy was too big. She was beautiful. I had always known that somewhere in the back of my mind, but that summer it was different. That summer I actually felt it. The first day I was home, Sophia was already at our house. I walked in through the front door with my 2 big duffel bags, and there she was sitting cross-legged on our living room floor with a bowl of popcorn in her lap, watching some true crime documentary on the TV. She looked up when I came in. "Clara," she said, and her whole face lit up. Not the polite kind of lit up, the real kind, the kind that makes your heart do something unexpected. "Hey, Sophia," I said, and I hope my voice sounded normal because my heart was doing something very strange. She jumped up from the floor, and before I could say anything else she hugged me. A real hug. The kind where you feel the other person's warmth and smell their shampoo, and for just a second the whole world gets very quiet. She smelled like vanilla, and something clean like fresh laundry dried in the sun. "I'm so glad you're home," she said into my shoulder. "Meg has been so boring without you." From the kitchen, Meg shouted, "I can hear you, Sophia." Sophia pulled back from the hug and grinned at me, and I felt something shift inside my chest. I did not know what it was yet, but I felt it. The thing about falling for someone slowly is that you do not always realize it is happening. It does not arrive like a thunderstorm with lightning and thunder and a moment when you know. Sometimes it comes in like fog, quiet and soft, filling all the spaces you did not know were empty. That is how it was with Sophia. It happened in small moments, scattered across the first 2 weeks of summer. It happened the afternoon she and Meg and I sat on the back porch, and Sophia told us about the trip she wanted to take to Iceland, her eyes going wide and bright, as she described the northern lights, her hands moving through the air like she was already painting the sky. It happened the evening she stayed for dinner and helped my mom make pasta sauce from scratch, and she sang along to the old Fleetwood Mac songs my mom had playing on the kitchen speaker, not caring that she got half the words wrong. It happened the night the 3 of us sat on the roof outside Meg's bedroom window and counted fireflies in the dark yard below, and Sophia leaned her shoulder against mine without thinking about it, and neither of us moved away. It happened slowly and then all at once. By the middle of June I knew. I was in love with Sophia Lane. The problem was I had never been in love with a woman before. Or at least I had never let myself know it. Looking back now, I can see the signs that had always been there. The way I had always felt something different when a woman smiled at me. The way my relationship with Daniel had always felt a little like I was playing a role in a movie, saying the right lines, doing the right things, but never quite feeling what I thought I was supposed to feel. But it is one thing to sense something from a distance. It is another thing entirely to feel it hit you so directly, so personally, so completely, that there is no more room for pretending. I lay awake in my childhood bedroom on the 14th night of that summer, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars. My 12-year-old self had stuck to the ceiling, and I let myself think it clearly for the first time. I am in love with a woman. The thought was terrifying, and also somehow a relief. Like I had been holding my breath for 22 years, and I was finally allowed to breathe. Here is where the story takes its turn. And I warn you now, this part is embarrassing. For me, entirely for me. I look back on it now with a kind of warm, cringing affection, but at the time I wanted the earth to swallow me whole. It happened on a Thursday evening in late June. Meg and Sophia had been making plans all week for a game night with some of their friends from high school, and I had been invited, mostly because I lived in the house and there was nowhere else for me to go. There were 6 of us total: Meg and Sophia, me and 3 others. Jamie, who was funny and loud and had known Meg since kindergarten, Reese, who was quiet and kind and always had the best snacks, and Alex, who was the kind of person who turned every simple situation into an adventure. It was Alex's idea. The game started innocently enough. We played card games. We ate too much pizza. We laughed at jokes that were not that funny but seemed hilarious at 11 o'clock at night when everyone was comfortable and happy. And then Alex said, "Let's play truth or dare." I should have known. I should have said, "I am tired, I am going to bed, good night everyone." But I was 22 and I wanted to belong to the warmth of that room, so I stayed. The game went around. Jamie told a truth about someone she had a crush on in high school. Reese dared Meg to text their old teacher saying she missed her class. Meg dared Alex to eat a spoonful of hot sauce without making a face. Alex failed spectacularly. And then it was my turn. "Truth or dare, Clara?" Alex asked with a smile that should have warned me. I said dare. The room went quiet in that particular way that means everyone, except you, already knows what is coming. Alex grinned. "I dare you," she said slowly, to kiss Sophia. The room erupted. Meg covered her face with her hands, laughing. Jamie made a dramatic noise. Reese quietly bit into a chip. And Sophia looked at me. Her expression was unreadable, not horrified, not amused exactly, just watching, waiting to see what I would do. "It's just a dare," Alex said cheerfully. "Friendly game, no big deal." My heart was hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. I was going to say no. I was going to laugh it off. I was going to make a joke and pass my turn and spend the rest of the night acting normal. But then Sophia said softly, "Only if you want to, Clara. It's okay either way." And something about the gentleness in her voice, the way she gave me a choice, the way she was looking at me, not with amusement, but with something careful and honest. I said okay. I turned to face her. We were sitting next to each other on the living room rug, and the distance between us was maybe 12 inches. The room had gone from laughing to a different kind of quiet. Not the quiet of anticipation for a funny moment, but a softer quiet. Like everyone could feel that something real was happening even if they did not know what. Sophia turned to face me too. She was so close. Her dark eyes found mine, and she gave me the smallest, softest smile, like she was saying without words, "It's okay. I'm here, don't be scared." I leaned forward. She leaned forward. And we kissed. I want to try to describe what happened in that moment, and I know that words are not enough, but I will try. It was not a dramatic kiss. It was gentle and brief. The kind of kiss that is technically very small but feels enormous, like the first drop of rain before a storm, like the first note of a song you have been waiting your whole life to hear. Her lips were soft and warm, and the moment they touched mine the world stopped making noise. Everything else, the room, the people, the game, the summer, all of it disappeared. There was only this, only her, only the feeling of something inside me that had been locked for years finally opening. I did not sleep that night. I lay in my room with the fan running and the window open, and the sound of crickets coming in from outside, and I thought about those 3 seconds for 4 hours straight. I thought about the softness of it, the warmth, the way my heart had not just skipped but had done something that felt like recognition, like something inside me saying, "There you are, I have been looking for you." I thought about Sophia's face afterward. That expression. I had turned it over in my mind 100 times and I still could not read it with certainty. But it had not been nothing, I knew that. It had not been the bored expression of someone going through the motions of a game. It had been real, whatever it was. By the time the sun came up and the birds started singing outside my window, I had made a decision. I was not going to say anything. I was going to act completely normal. I was going to pretend that kiss was exactly what it was supposed to be, a silly dare, a funny moment, something to joke about later. I was going to protect myself, and I was going to protect Sophia and the friendship between Sophia and Meg and the careful, comfortable summer we had all been having together. I was going to lock it away. That was my plan. It lasted approximately 16 hours. It lasted maybe 3 seconds. When we pulled back, the room exploded into noise again. Alex was cackling. Jamie said something I could not hear. Meg had gone suspiciously quiet. But I was not looking at any of them. I was looking at Sophia. And Sophia was looking at me. And her expression was not the expression of someone who had just done a funny party dare. It was something else entirely. The next day Sophia came over again. This was normal. Sophia was at our house all the time. There was nothing unusual about it. But that morning, when I came downstairs and found her in the kitchen making coffee like she lived there, something was different. She looked up when I walked in. "Morning," she said. "Morning," I said. And then we both looked away at the same time. My mom came in and started talking about something, and the moment passed, but there had been something in that second of eye contact, a kind of electricity, an awareness that had not been there before. Or maybe it had always been there. Maybe I was only now able to feel it. Things between us did not become awkward exactly, but they became charged. Like the air before a storm when everything is still and bright, and you can feel the pressure building even though nothing has broken open yet. We were the same as we had been. We talked and laughed and spent evenings on the porch and watched movies together and argued about which pizza toppings were acceptable. Everything was the same on the surface. But underneath it something was different. She would look at me sometimes when she thought I was not watching. I would feel it and turn, and she would look away quickly, and I would do the same to her. We were orbiting each other, getting closer and closer. And pretending we were not, the 4th of July came. In Maplewood, that was a big deal. The whole town gathered at Miller's Lake for fireworks, and there was food and music and blankets on the grass and children running around with sparklers until their parents caught them. The 5 of us went together, me, Meg, Sophia, Jamie and Reese. We set up on the grass near the water with 2 big blankets and a bag full of food and drinks. The sun was still up when we arrived, and the lake was gold and pink with the late evening light. I had been trying all day to be normal. I was not succeeding. Every time Sophia laughed at something, I felt it in my whole body. Every time she sat close to me, which she kept doing, I had to remind myself to breathe. When it got dark and the fireworks started, we all stretched out on the blankets to watch. Sophia was lying next to me, close enough that our arms were touching. The fireworks went off in bursts of color, red and gold and silver and blue reflected on the surface of the lake below. They were beautiful. I barely noticed them. I was too aware of the warmth of her arm against mine. At some point during the fireworks, the others fell into their own conversations and their own private worlds, and Sophia and I were quietly side by side in the dark. She turned her head to look at me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly, so softly that only I could hear. I turned to look at her. Her face was lit by the bursts of color above us. Gold, then pink, then silver, each flash of light showing me something different in her expression, something careful and searching. "Nothing," I said. She held my gaze. "Okay," she said. But her eyes said, "I know you are lying." And mine said back, "I know you know." We looked at each other for a long moment in the dark, and then a big burst of fireworks exploded above us, green and white and brilliant, and we both looked up. But I felt her hand move on the blanket between us. Just slightly. Just enough that her fingers were almost touching mine. I did not move away. 3 days after the 4th of July, Meg had an overnight shift at the library for a special community event they were hosting. My mom and dad were visiting my aunt 2 towns over and staying the night. It was just me and Sophia in the house. This had happened before. It was not unusual, but that evening, knowing it was just the two of us, the air felt different from the moment she arrived. We cooked dinner together. Pasta because neither of us was feeling ambitious. We stood side by side at the counter, her chopping vegetables and me stirring the sauce, and we talked about ordinary things. A show she had been watching, something funny that had happened at the coffee shop where she worked, a design project I had been working on for my portfolio. Normal, easy, safe. After dinner we cleaned up and moved to the back porch with 2 glasses of lemonade and sat in the old wooden chairs that had been there since I was a child. The night was warm and soft. Fireflies drifted in the yard. Somewhere down the street a dog was barking and then stopped. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. And then Sophia said, "Can I ask you something?" Her voice was quiet, careful. "Sure," I said. A pause. "The other night at the games when we..." She did not finish the sentence. My heart started going very fast. "Yeah," I said. "Did it feel like nothing to you?" The question landed softly in the warm air between us. I turned to look at her. She was looking at her glass of lemonade, turning it slowly in both hands, not meeting my eyes. "Sophia," I started. "It's okay if it did," she said quickly. "It was a dare, it was a game, I know that. I'm not trying to make it into something it wasn't." "Sophia..." She paused, took a breath. "I just keep thinking about it, and I don't know what that means, and it's making me a little crazy, honestly." She finally looked up at me. Her eyes were honest and vulnerable and a little scared. I set down my glass of lemonade on the porch railing. "No," I said. "No what?" No, it did not feel like nothing. The silence that followed was the biggest, fullest silence I have ever experienced in my life. Sophia stared at me. I could see the wheels turning, the hope rising, and trying to stay careful at the same time. "What did it feel like?" she asked. And I said honestly the truest thing I knew, like waking up. She let out a breath, a long, slow breath like she had been holding it for days. "Clara," she said. "I know," I said. "I know it's complicated. I know you're Meg's best friend. I know I haven't done this before. I don't even fully understand what I'm feeling. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend it was nothing when it was." "Everything," she said. Very quietly. Very simply. "Yeah," I whispered. "Everything. We did not kiss that night." We talked. For hours and hours we talked. She told me things I had not known. That she had known she liked women since she was 16. That she had dated a woman in college for a year and a half, someone named Rachel, who had moved to Portland and ended things because of the distance. That she had never told Meg directly, not because she thought Meg would judge her, but because she had not known how to start the conversation. I told her things I had not said out loud before, that I had always felt something was missing but could not name it, that Daniel had been kind and I had tried to love him the way I thought I was supposed to, that the kiss had been the first time in my life I had felt completely, undeniably present. We talked until 2 in the morning, and when she finally left she stood on the porch and looked at me and said, "I want to be careful with you, and with Meg. I don't want to start something by sneaking around." "Me neither," I said. "So what do we do?" I thought about it. "We talk to Meg," I said. Sophia nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. "Okays." And then she smiled at me, small and warm and full of something that looked like hope. And I watched her walk to her car and drive away into the summer night. I told Meg the next morning. She was in the kitchen with her second cup of coffee, reading on her phone when I came downstairs. I sat down across from her at the kitchen table. She looked up. "You have your serious face on," she said. "I need to tell you something." She put her phone down. I told her about the kiss which she already knew about from the game. I told her that it had not felt like nothing to me. I told her about the porch the night before. I told her about what Sophia had said and what I had said. I told her, stumbling over the words a little, that I thought I had feelings for Sophia and that I thought Sophia might feel something too. And I told her something else, something I had not planned to say until I was already saying it. I told her that I thought I might be gay. The word came out of my mouth and hung in the kitchen air, and I felt immediately exposed in a way that made me want to run. Meg looked at me for a long moment, and then she got up from her chair, came around the table, and hugged me. A long, tight, real hug. "Oh, Clara," she said, "oh, sweetheart." I started crying. I had not expected to cry, but it came up fast, the relief and the fear and the love all tangled together, and I cried into my sister's shoulder at the kitchen table at 9 in the morning. "I'm not upset," Meg said quietly, rubbing my back. "I want you to know that first, I am not upset." "Are you sure?" I managed. "Positive." She pulled back and looked at me, her hands on my shoulders. Her eyes were wet too. "I love you, that's the main thing, the only thing." "And Sophia?" I asked. Meg took a breath. "Sophia is my best friend," she said. "And that matters. I'm going to need a minute to recalibrate, to think about what that means, having the two people I love most become," she gestured vaguely. "Whatever this is." "We don't even know what this is yet," I said. I know," she squeezed my shoulders. "I'm not saying no, I'm not saying don't, I'm saying be honest with me, both of you, that's all I ask." I nodded. "Thank you," I said. She wiped her eyes and sat back down. "Now," she said, picking up her coffee, "are you going to tell Mom and Dad?" I laughed despite everything, a wet, shaky laugh. "One thing at a time," I said. "Sophia came over that afternoon. Meg was there. The three of us sat together in the living room, and it was strange and a little awkward at first, but Meg broke the tension the way she always did, by being direct and human and honest. I love you both, she said, looking between us. This is weird, I'm not going to pretend it's not weird, but I want you to be happy, both of you. Sophia looked at her for a moment and then crossed the room and hugged her. Meg hugged her back fiercely. When they pulled apart, Sophia looked at me. And we did not need words. Our first real date was small and simple. We drove to a farmer's market 2 towns over on a Saturday morning. We walked through the stalls in the warm morning sun looking at vegetables and homemade jams and handmade jewelry. She bought a small bunch of sunflowers. I bought a jar of honey. At one point, walking between 2 stalls, her hand found mine. Not dramatically, not with a speech, just quietly, her fingers lacing through mine like they had always belonged there. I looked down at our joined hands and then up at her. She was looking straight ahead, a small smile on her face. "Is this okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said. And I meant it in the biggest possible way. I want to tell you the truth about what came next, because it was not all warm farmers' market mornings and sunflowers and fireflies. It was also hard. Being honest with yourself about who you are after years of not letting yourself know is not a process that happens all at once. It is slow and sometimes painful and full of moments where the old habits of hiding try to come back. There were moments in those early weeks when I would feel something pull at me from the inside, some old voice that said, "This is wrong, this is strange, this is not what you are supposed to want." That voice had been with me a long time. I had spent years listening to it. Learning not to listen, learning to replace it with the truth took work. Sophia was patient with me. She had done this herself years before, she understood. She did not push, she let me move at my own speed. "You don't have to have it all figured out," she told me one evening when I was quiet and tangled in my own head. "You just have to know what's true right now. That's enough." "What's true right now?" I repeated. "Yes." I looked at her. "What's true right now," I said, "is that being with you is the first thing in my life that has ever felt exactly right." She looked at me for a moment, and then she leaned forward and kissed me. A real kiss this time, unhurried, warm, full of all the things we had been careful with and were now finally allowing. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "That's enough," she whispered. "Telling my parents happened in late August, about 6 weeks after Sophia and I had started whatever we were starting. I told my mom first, on a quiet Sunday afternoon when my dad was out. We were sitting in the garden and she was deadheading her roses and I just started talking. She listened without interrupting. When I was done, she set down her gardening gloves and turned to look at me. My mom had grown up in a small town in New Hampshire. She was not someone who talked about things like this. I had no idea what she was going to say. She said, "I've been wondering for a few years." I blinked. What? I didn't know for sure, but I noticed things, felt things. The way you were with Daniel never looked quite right. The way you talk about Sophia is different. Mom, I'm glad you told me, she said simply, and I want to meet her properly, as you're whatever she is to you. My girlfriend, I said. My first time saying that word out loud about Sophia. My mom smiled. Bring her for dinner, she said. My dad took a little longer. Not because he was unkind, but because he was quiet in the way that meant he was processing. He went for a long walk after I told him. He came back and made a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table without saying much for a while. And then he said, "I just want you to be happy, Clara. That's all I've ever wanted for you." I know, Dad. This Sophia, she's a good person. The best person I know, I said honestly. He nodded. Then that's good enough for me. He was not perfectly smooth about it after that. There were moments of awkwardness, moments where I could see him working to recalibrate, to update the picture in his head of who his daughter was. But he kept trying. He kept showing up. He kept asking about her. That was enough. I want to tell you about Sophia's world too, because this is her story as much as mine. Sophia had grown up in a house that was louder than mine. 2 brothers, a big loud family, parents who loved each other noisily and fought noisily, and expressed everything loudly. She had always been a little different from her family, quieter inside even when she was laughing outside. She had come out to her parents at 19 on a holiday trip to visit her grandparents in Ohio. Her mom had cried not with sadness but with relief. "I was worried you were hiding something," her mom had said. "I'm glad it's just this." Just this. Sophia had laughed at the way her mom had phrased it. But her family had adjusted quickly. By the time I met them, they knew about me. Her mom greeted me with a hug that left me slightly breathless. Her dad shook my hand and then said, "Any friend of Sophia's is family. Sit down, eat something." Her brothers barely reacted. One of them said, "Cool, Clara's the girlfriend, sweet," and went back to playing video games. It was so different from my experience of the same thing. But it showed me something important. It was possible for people to love you and simply let you be. I want to tell you about one evening in September. The summer was ending, the light was changing. The leaves were just beginning to turn gold at their edges. Sophia and I had been together, really together, for about 8 weeks. We drove out to a field outside of town that Sophia had known about for years. A big open field on the edge of someone's farm, overlooking a hill with a long view of the valley below. She had brought a blanket and a bag with tea in a thermos and some cookies she had baked that morning. We sat on the blanket in the cooling September evening and watched the sun go down over the valley. "I've been thinking about something," she said. "What?" "About how this started, about the dare." I laughed softly. "The dare. Do you ever think if Alex hadn't done that, if the game hadn't gone that way?" "I think it would have happened anyway," I said. "Yes, yeah, it was building up all summer. I just didn't know what to do with it." She nodded slowly. "The prank," she said almost to herself, "the prank that started everything." "The best prank anyone ever played on me," I said. She looked at me sideways. "You didn't think so at the time?" "No, at the time I wanted to disappear into the floor." She laughed, that laugh, the full-body one, the one I loved. "I was terrified," she admitted. Sitting there when Alex said it, I kept thinking, does Clara want this? Is she going to be horrified? Is this going to be weird? It was a little weird. "Very weird," she agreed, "but also perfect," I said. She looked at me. "Yeah," she said, "perfect." She leaned her head on my shoulder. I put my arm around her. We watched the last of the sun disappear below the hill and the sky turn from orange to pink to deep blue, and the first stars come out one by one above the valley. I thought about the 12-year-old me who had stuck stars on her ceiling, about the girl who had looked up at fake stars for years waiting for something real. I had found it. I want to be honest with you now, because easy stories are not always true stories. There were hard days. There was the day I went back to college in September and had to figure out who I was in that world too. My friends, they were kind, most of them. But there were moments of discomfort and awkwardness that I had to navigate. There were people who did not understand and did not try to. There was learning all over again how to be brave. There was the long-distance part of things. Sophia was in Maplewood. I was 3 hours away in Massachusetts. We drove back and forth on weekends when we could. We talked on the phone every evening. It was hard in the way that real things are hard because they matter. There were moments of insecurity. Moments when I wondered if Sophia was sure about me, if the gap in our experience levels meant I would always be catching up. Moments when she wondered, I know, if I was ready for something real or if I was still figuring myself out. We talked through all of it. Not always gracefully, not always without tears or frustration or long silences that needed to be broken, but we talked. And every time we talked, we came out on the other side a little closer than we had been going in. Months into it now, October turning to November, I was home for a long weekend. Meg and I were doing dishes after a family dinner, Sophia having gone home a little while earlier, and it was just the two of us in the warm kitchen. "Can I tell you something?" Meg said. "Sure." She handed me a dish to dry. "I was scared," she said. "When you first told me about how you felt about Sophia, I was scared that it was going to change everything, that I was going to lose you both somehow or lose the version of us that I knew." "I know," I said. "But it didn't." "No. It's actually," she paused, looked for the word, "better, in some way, like everyone is more themselves. You're more yourself than I've ever seen you. And Sophia," she smiled, "Sophia is happy in a way I haven't seen her be in years." I felt something warm move through me. "I'm glad you told me," Meg said, "and I'm glad it was her. I'm glad it was someone I love." I looked at my sister, this steady, kind person who had known me my whole life. "Thank you," I said, "for being you." She rolled her eyes in that big sister way. "Stop being sentimental. You're going to make me cry, and I hate crying while doing dishes." I laughed. She laughed. And we finished the dishes. It is 2 years later now as I tell you this story. I am 24. Sophia is 26. We share an apartment in Burlington, Vermont, now a small place with high ceilings and a big window that fills the whole living room with afternoon light. I finished my degree. I am working as a freelance graphic designer, building something I am proud of. Sophia is back in school for a nursing program she has wanted to do for years. She studies at the kitchen table with her textbooks spread out and her reading glasses on, and sometimes I look over at her from my desk, and I still feel that same thing I felt on that summer porch 2 years ago. Like waking up. Like breathing. Like being exactly where I am supposed to be. Meg comes to visit often. She brings her boyfriend, who we all love, and we have dinner and watch movies and argue about games, and the house fills up with the noise of people who love each other. My parents have come around completely. My dad and Sophia have a ritual now of talking about whatever documentary he has been watching, and my mom texts Sophia recipes and gets texts back with pictures of how they turned out. I want to tell you something that I wish someone had told me when I was lying in my childhood bedroom, staring at glow-in-the-dark stars and feeling terrified of my own heart. Being who you are is not something you have to earn. You do not have to prove it. You do not have to be sure of everything before you are allowed to start. You do not have to have the words perfectly arranged or the explanation perfectly prepared. You are allowed to discover yourself slowly, stumbling and uncertain and afraid. You are allowed to be in the middle of becoming. And you are allowed to find love right there in the middle before you have it all figured out. People ask me sometimes, "Are you glad the prank happened?" And I always say, yes, obviously yes. But here is what I actually believe in my heart after all of this. The prank was not the beginning. The prank was just the moment when the beginning became visible. The beginning was that first summer evening, Sophia on our living room floor with her bowl of popcorn, her face lighting up when I walked in, the warmth that moved through my chest that I did not know how to name yet. The beginning was every small moment after that, the shoulder against mine in the dark, the fireflies, the hand on the blanket, the porch at 2 in the morning. The prank just gave us permission to see what had already been growing. Alex, if you are somehow reading this, thank you, truly. You are chaotic and occasionally terrifying, and I owe you everything. I want to end this story with something Sophia said to me. We were in our apartment in Burlington last winter. A snowstorm had come through, and the whole city was quiet and white and muffled. We were inside with the heat on, and candles burning, and a blanket shared between us on the couch. She was reading, I was sketching. The snow kept falling outside the window. She put her book down and looked at me. "What?" I said. "Nothing," she said. "I just wanted to look at you for a second." I set down my sketchbook. We looked at each other in the warm, candlelit room, with the snow falling quietly outside. "I'm glad you came home that summer," she said. "Me too," I said. "I'm glad Alex is a chaos gremlin." I laughed. "Me too." She reached over and tucked a piece of my hair behind my ear. Her touch was gentle, familiar, after 2 years still electric. "I love you, Clara Bennett," she said, simply, quietly, like it was the easiest and most natural thing in the world. And I said, just as simply, just as quietly, "I love you, Sophia Lane." Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, we were warm. I have been honest with you through this whole story. So I am going to be honest about this part too. Because love, real love, is not only sunsets over valleys and shared blankets and snowstorms that make everything quiet and beautiful. Real love is also the hard days. The days when you look at the person across from you and feel the distance between you like a physical thing, even when you are standing close enough to touch. Our almost breaking happened in the spring of our second year together. I was 23, Sophia was 25. We had been living together in Burlington for about 4 months, and on the surface everything looked right. We had our apartment, we had our routines, we had Sunday morning coffee and evening walks and the life we had been building together carefully and lovingly for over a year. But underneath the surface something had been quietly building, and I had not been paying attention. It started with my work. I had taken on too many clients that winter. 3 big projects at once, 2 brand identity packages, and a full website redesign for a restaurant group in Boston. It was good work, exciting work, the kind of work I had been hopping for when I started building my freelance business. But it consumed me. I was at my desk by 7 in the morning and sometimes still there at midnight. I ate meals at my computer. I cancelled plans. I was present in the apartment physically, but I was not really there. Sophia never complained. That was the thing. She was patient in a way that, looking back, I took for granted. She understood the pressure of building something. She had her own studies to pour herself into. She did not demand things from me. But needing something and asking for it are not the same thing. And I was not noticing what she needed. The conversation happened on a Tuesday evening in April. I remember the date because it was the day I had finally submitted the last of the 3 big projects, and I had come out of my home office feeling like I had surfaced from underwater, light-headed, relieved, ready to breathe again. I found Sophia in the kitchen. She was making dinner standing at the stove with her back to me. Something about the set of her shoulders was different, tight in a way I had not seen before. "Hey," I said. "Hey," she said. Quiet, flat, not cold but not warm either. I sat down at the kitchen table. "I finally sent everything," I said. "The Boston project is done. I feel like I've been freed from a very long and complicated prison." She did not laugh. I noticed. "That's great," she said. Still that voice, careful, contained. I watched her stir whatever was in the pot. "Soft," I said. "What's wrong?" A long pause. She turned the heat down on the stove and turned around. She leaned back against the counter and looked at me, and in her eyes was something I had not seen there before. Not anger. Not quite sadness. Something quieter and more frightening than both. Exhaustion. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this for a while," she said. My heart went cold. "Okay," I said. "I miss you," she said. "I'm right here," I said automatically. She looked at me. "No," she said, "you're not." She told me things that night that I needed to hear. She told me that for the past 3 months she had felt like she was living with a stranger who happened to share her bed and her kitchen. She told me there had been evenings when she had been sitting on the couch hoping I would come out of the office and just sit with her, not to do anything, not to talk about anything important, just to be there, and I never came. She told me about a day 2 weeks earlier, when she had gotten a really difficult grade on an exam she had studied hard for, and she had come home upset, and I had barely looked up from my screen. She told me she had started going on her evening walks alone because she had asked me twice to come with her, and I had said in a minute, both times, and the minutes had turned into hours. "I'm not asking you not to work," she said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear what it was costing her to keep it that way. "I would never do that. Your work matters. What you're building matters." "Then what are you asking?" I said. "I'm asking you to still be in this relationship while you're doing it," she said. "I'm asking you to remember that I'm here." The silence that followed was the hardest silence I have ever had to sit in. Because I could not say she was wrong. She was exactly right. And I had been too buried in my own world to see it. "I'm sorry," I said. It came out broken, not the clean, easy kind of apology, but the real kind, the kind that comes from somewhere deep and actual. "I didn't realize," I said. "I was so focused on the work that I stopped paying attention to what was right in front of me, to you, and that's." I stopped. Sophia was looking at me. "That's not okay," I finished. "It's not okay. You deserve better than that from me." She was quiet for a moment. "I'm not going anywhere," she said. "I want you to know that I'm not giving up on this." "But," I said. "But I need you to actually be here," she said. "Not just in the apartment, here with me." I got up from the table. I crossed the kitchen. And I put my arms around her, and she let me. She leaned into it, and I felt the tension in her shoulders slowly begin to ease. "I'm here," I said quietly. "I'm here now, and I'm going to pay attention." She did not say anything for a moment. She just held on. Then into my shoulder she said, "Dinner is going to burn." I laughed, a wet, relieved laugh. We moved apart. She turned back to the stove. And I sat at the kitchen table and watched her finish making dinner. Not on my phone, not thinking about work, just present, just watching the woman I loved move around the kitchen we shared and being grateful, genuinely, deeply grateful. That conversation changed things. Not quickly, not all at once, but it started a shift in how I was showing up in our relationship, how I was showing up in my own life. I started setting boundaries around my work hours, 7 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and then I closed the office door. I started asking Sophia about her day and actually listening. I started saying yes to the evening walks. She met me halfway in return. She started saying out loud when she needed something instead of waiting and hoping I would notice. She told me when a hard day had knocked her around a little, instead of carrying it quietly and alone. We learned each other a little more deeply through that difficult spring. Not despite the hard conversation, because of it. There was one evening in May, about a month after the kitchen conversation, that stays with me as one of my favorite memories. It was a warm evening, and we had gone for our walk along the river path that ran through part of Burlington. The trees were green and new, and the river was running fast with snowmelt, and everything smelled like earth and growing things. We were walking side by side and not saying much, just being together in the evening air. Sophia slipped her hand into mine. I squeezed her fingers. "I love you," she said, not in a dramatic way, just easily, like breathing. "I love you," I said. We kept walking. A dog came running past us on the path, and its owner jogged after it, apologizing. Sophia laughed, I laughed. And everything was right. Not perfect, not forever uncomplicated, but right. I want to tell you what I learned from that almost breaking. Because I think it is something worth knowing. Love is not only what you feel, it is also what you do. It is the choices you make every day about where you point your attention, your energy, your presence. It is turning toward the person instead of away, even when turning toward them takes something from you. It is choosing again and again to show up. Feelings are the beginning, but showing up is the whole rest of the story. Sophia had chosen me again and again through that hard winter. She had been patient when I did not deserve patience. She had stayed when she was tired and hurting. When I finally saw what she had been carrying, I made a choice. I chose to be someone worthy of the way she loved me. That, I think, is what love actually is, 2.5 years. That is how long it has been since the summer on Birchwood Lane, since the game night and the dare and the 3 seconds that changed my whole life. I am 24 now and Sophia is 26, and we live in our apartment in Burlington with the high ceilings and the big window and a cat now. A small grey one we named Biscuit, who spends most of his time sleeping on Sophia's nursing textbooks and has opinions about everything. I want to tell you how things are now, not as a tidy summary but as a real picture, because real life does not tie itself up neatly, and I think you deserve the truth. My work is going well. I have 3 regular clients now, a small publishing company, a wellness brand, and a bakery in Vermont that I love with my whole heart because they let me design things that are warm and beautiful and a little whimsical. I work reasonable hours. I close the laptop at 6. I am proud of what I have built. But more than the work itself, I am proud of the person I am becoming, the person who can work hard and also be present, the person who knows that a career is something you have, not something you are. Sophia is almost finished with her nursing program. She will graduate in the spring. She is going to be extraordinary at it, I have no doubt. She has the kind of patience and warmth that people need when they are scared and hurting. She has been practicing that on me for 2.5 years. Meg got engaged in January. She called me from Maplewood on a Sunday morning, and I could tell from the first syllable she said that something had happened. Her voice was bright and a little shaky, the way voices get when emotions are very close to the surface. "David asked me," she said. I screamed, genuinely screamed. In our apartment at 8 in the morning, I screamed with joy. Sophia came running out of the bedroom thinking something was wrong. I pointed at the phone and mouthed, "Meg is engaged." And Sophia grabbed her own phone and immediately called Meg on video so we could all 3 be together in that moment. The wedding is in September, in Maplewood, at the garden venue by the old mill. Sophia and I are both in the wedding party. Meg chose Sophia as her maid of honor, which was a decision that came with a lot of teary hugging, and then a great deal of argument about who got to pick the restaurant for the bachelorette dinner. Sophia won. She always wins those arguments. My parents have settled into the version of our life that includes Sophia completely. My mom calls her our Sophia now without thinking about it, which makes Sophia smile every single time. My dad has taken to sending her links to articles about medical topics, now that she is studying nursing, with little notes like, "Thought this might be relevant to your studies." It is his way of showing interest, of caring, of learning her world. They are not perfect, no family is, but they are trying, and trying is everything. Sophia's family has absorbed me in their loud and effortless way. Her mom includes me in the family group chat. Her brothers text me memes. Her dad calls me his bonus daughter, which makes me cry a little every time he says it, because I was not expecting to be loved by people I had not grown up with, and the surprise of it still hits me. We are both, I think, very lucky in the families we were given, and the families we chose. There is a photograph on the wall of our apartment. It was taken at Meg's engagement party in February. The whole family was there, my parents, Sophia's parents, Meg and David, some close friends. Someone had set up a camera on a timer and gathered everyone outside in the cold February afternoon for a group picture. In the picture, Sophia and I are standing together at the edge of the group. Her arm is around my waist, my head is tilted toward her shoulder. We are not looking at the camera. We are looking at each other, laughing at something, I do not remember what. But our faces in that photograph. I look at it sometimes when I walk past in the morning. This ordinary Tuesday morning, going to make coffee, still in my pajamas, not thinking about anything particular. And I look at that photograph, and I see 2 people who are entirely, completely happy. Not performing happiness. Not reaching for it. Just in it. I want to tell you about one more moment. It was a Saturday in March. A cold one, the kind where the sky is white and low and the world feels hushed. Sophia and I had gone to the farmer's market because we go every Saturday that we can, because it is our thing, because it started there, and we like to keep going back. We were walking through the stalls. She had a cup of coffee in one hand and my hand in the other. Biscuit was at home destroying something he should not be destroying. We stopped at a stall that sold handmade ceramic things, mugs and bowls and little figures. I was looking at a small ceramic bird when Sophia said, quietly and without any preamble, "I want to ask you something." I looked up. Her expression was different, something more serious and more tender than the easy Saturday morning we had been having. "Okay," I said. She was quiet for a second, choosing words. I know we are young, she said, and I know that we have time and we don't have to do anything on any particular schedule, and I'm not asking this as a demand or an ultimatum or anything like that. Sophia, I said, because the serious look on her face was making my heart do something complicated. I just want to know, she said, if you see it, the future with me in it, long term. I looked at her. The winter light was flat and pale, and she was wearing the blue coat she had bought at a thrift store last fall, and her dark hair was tucked under a grey hat. She looked at me with those warm brown eyes that I had been falling into for 2.5 years. I thought about the summer on Birchwood Lane, about the porch in the dark and the fireflies, about the lake on the 4th of July and her fingers almost touching mine on the blanket, about the farmer's market the first time and her hand finding mine quietly, like it belonged there. About the hard winter and the kitchen conversation and choosing, again and again, to show up. About Meg's kitchen and my mom's garden and her dad calling me his bonus daughter. About all of it, the whole messy, beautiful, real thing. Yes, I said. Simple, certain, no hesitation. Yes, I said again, just to be sure she heard it. I see it, completely. You are in every version of my future I can imagine. She looked at me for a moment, and then she said, okay. Just okay. But the way she said it, the way her whole face changed, the way she held my hand a little tighter. That one word held everything. We walked home from the farmer's market with a bunch of tulips from one of the stall's yellow ones, the first ones of the almost spring. Sophia held them in the crook of her arm, and I held her hand, and we walked through the quiet Saturday streets of Burlington and did not need to say anything. Sometimes you do not need words. Sometimes the whole world fits inside a hand held quietly on a winter morning. I am going to tell you one last true thing. When I was 22 and lying in my childhood bedroom staring at those glow-in-the-dark stars, I was afraid of something I could not name, a future that felt impossible, a version of myself that I did not know how to let exist. Now I am 24, and I have an apartment and a cat and a woman who loves me, and a family that is still learning and still trying, and a career I built myself, and a sister getting married in September. None of it arrived perfectly. None of it was without cost or fear or uncertainty. None of it looked exactly like I imagined. It is better than I imagined. Because I could not have imagined this. The specific texture of this life, the exact warmth of this love, the particular and unrepeatable beauty of being exactly who you are with exactly the people who see you. You cannot imagine the specific thing that is waiting for you. You can only walk toward it. So if you are standing at the edge of something true and terrifying, walk toward it. The prank started it, but we built the rest ourselves. One honest conversation at a time. One small brave choice at a time. One Tuesday morning, one farmer's market, one evening walk, one hand held quietly in the winter light at a time. That is how love works. That is how life works. And it is everything. If you are reading this or listening to this and you are somewhere in the middle of your own story, not at the beginning where things are clear and not at the end where things have settled, just in the messy, uncertain, beautiful middle. I want to say this to you. Stay. Stay in the middle. Don't rush past it trying to get to the part where you are sure and everything is neat and explained. The middle is where everything real happens. The middle is where you find out what you are made of. The middle is where the people who will love you most are waiting to find you. You do not have to have your whole story figured out to let someone in. You just have to be honest. And brave. And willing to feel the thing you are feeling, even when it is new and strange and bigger than you expected. The best kiss of my life started as a prank. And it led me to everything. Maybe your everything is waiting in a completely unexpected moment too. I hope it finds you. I really do.